Hi there. In this video I wanted to show what we did to build out our Old Hickory shed into a nice space for hanging out and also a office type space. So here's our 10 by 16 lofted barn that we bought from Old Hickory. It's completely bare on the inside. We did add an extra loft space, another 4 feet of loft in it. We also wanted to have plenty of electrical capabilities in there, so we put 7 outlets around the perimeter. And we also made some nice LED overhead lighting that's switched. So here we've just about completed the electricity. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to insulate it. We wanted it to be a little bit soundproofed and not change temperatures with the outside temperature so quickly, as it gets pretty cold and pretty warm where we are. So we insulated it, and then we bought some cheap paneling. We used inexpensive paneling because we're going to be going over it with some other treatments, which we'll show you later. The next thing we did, we had some carpeting that we already had, so we used that. It's a short nap, kind of an indoor-outdoor type carpet, so we can vacuum it easily. And this is how I painted my ceiling. I used some different multicolored paints and mixed them with some other paint. Hey, painting my man cave ceiling.
Take a close look.
There's spots of red. I got pretty red, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. This is the magic paint. That's how you do it if you want magic paint. Oh, there's some blue. Red, white, and blue for Memorial Day. Just dumped a bunch on the ground, but magic paint again. Who wants boring old one-color paint? Not me. A big chunk of something. Blue. Red. Boy. Well, that was fun painting those ceiling panels. I like using multicolored paint. I use some paint that's not real stirred up, some small cans of different colors, and mix them with my main color paint for this effect. The next thing we did was I wanted to build two counters, one on each short wall of the shed. They're going to be used for holding a computer and just other space for working on different projects that I have. So that's what this is, a 2x2 frame with a 3/4 inch plywood top. And then we went on to the next project, which is involving these pine cut rounds. So here it is. Well, we're still working on the shed. We're putting some rounds on the wall, pine rounds. I got my fancy paint job up here. Put in some counters. We've got some other treatments for the wall that we're going to put on later. But right now this is the gluing of the rounds. We're just kind of pre-fitting them on over some cheap paneling that we've put the walls up with. We didn't worry about the nailing because we're going to cover all this up. We're doing the bottom part of this right here with some pine rounds that I've cut on a chop saw. So all we're doing is taking some construction adhesive here and putting the glue on them. Doesn't take a whole lot of glue. A little hard to glue and video at the same time. But and we're just working our way down, making it look like a pile of firewood. Well, we got part of my wall done with the rounds. This took us about, oh, I don't know, 2 hours maybe to glue those up. I've been working on cutting the rounds on a power miter the last few days. Just cutting a few here and there when I have the chance. So, coming along, we got almost half what we're going to do done. We're only going to do over to this other counter over here. Well, we're making progress on our shed decoration. We're doing the pine cut rounds for now. Later on we're going to do a little burlap. We've got the ceiling painted a crazy pattern. Kind of cool. And we're going to do another little treatment I'll show you later coming up for this opening. We need to leave this easily accessible for the loft space for storage. So we're going to just put some removable panels up there. And we're going to probably do some rounds for trim along the corners and maybe the ceiling as well. We finished our rounds for the day. We did what we could. We ran out of rounds and glue, so we got to get a little more of both of those. Let my saw cool off from cutting those. So now we're going to start on the wall. We're going to do a little burlap treatment for the wall. Cover up this cheap paneling. So we're going to start over here. About a 3-foot wide by 100-foot long roll. Pretty reasonable. And we're just covering up our cheap paneling that we've already covered the bottom of it up with our pine rounds. So it's coming out pretty nice. It's a little, we're not trying to tack it down to the wall completely flat. We want it to be a little bit of a rustic look. And we also put some corrugated steel to cover up the entrance to the opening for our loft up here. That came out pretty good too. So all in all, we're pretty happy with it so far. We're gonna finish up the burlap, and then we're gonna do a little trimming around the counters and see what she looks like. Well, we finished hanging our burlap for the most part. Now we're gonna just trace around where it meets the log rounds and cut that out so it's a nice fit. Looks kind of like that when you're done. Not trying to be too precise with it, just, you know, making it look nice. And then we're going to put a little, log round trim along the ceiling where the ceiling meets the wall. And we're going to do some rustic 1x2 trim along the cabinet. I mean the counter, where the counter and the burlap come together. Just a simple 1x2. Well, Julie and I are still working on the shed. We're making a little office slash hangout space. We finished our rounds on the lower part there. We're still going to do some more up around the where the wall meets the ceiling. We did our corrugated panels to cover the access to the loft. We put in some LED lighting, piece of cake, standard lighting, no bulbs necessary, 45 years guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but 45 years lifespan. Now on the edge over here, we're going to do some cedar shake, just for something different along the window, along this front wall, the door wall and the window wall. So that's what we're working on now. It's going pretty well. We just use a cheap grade of like a starter course of cedar shake. Less expensive than the clear stuff. It has a little more character to it. So I'm just putting a little bit of construction adhesive on the bottom of these shingles and then stapling the top. And hopefully that'll hold it. And I marked my 13 inches up there. That's my coverage. Just using a quick staple just to hold it in place. And I'm going to cover up those staples with some rounds up along the ceiling and the wall joint. You won't see those. And that's the look we're going to end up with. There you have it. Nothing to it. Julie and I are still working on dressing up our shed. We're going for the rustic look. We've put the pine rounds on the back wall. We've put the burlap on the wall. We've done a cool paint job on the ceiling. We put in our lighting. We put in cedar shingles on the front wall. We trimmed the windows out with some inexpensive trim, and we painted it kind of a funky mixture of colors. So today we were thinking about dressing up the top here with some more rounds. Gonna go along the whole, well, probably 3 walls, not the front wall where the cedar is, but the 3 walls with some rounds. So let's do it. So we're just taking the rounds, putting a dollop of glue on there, pushing it in to make sure it goes through the burlap to the actual paling that we've used for the backer for this whole project. And that's the final look. Just using some regular construction adhesive. Well, that only took about 15 minutes to do that there long wall. I guess it looks kind of cool. May not be for everybody, but we're using all trees that we've trimmed off of our property here in Oregon. Little ponderosa pines and some little jack pines that just kind of weeding things out, so didn't have to buy anything for that. We finished the pine rounds around the wall ceiling joint. Came out pretty well. That didn't take very long. It only took about, maybe half an hour to glue them all up. Next up, we're going to put up a shelf. It's a 1x6, which is 5.5 inches wide. We're going to use a couple different kinds of brackets. We're going to use the first main one we're going to use is a floor flange with a, I think it's a 6-inch nipple, is it? And a cap. Mm-hmm. And that comes out pretty good for the middle ones. And then we made a couple out of some old wood we had here. And they're going to be made out of just some wood that we had, some pine that's been dried and kind of petrified. So we made a simple bracket that's going to go on the end since it's kind of hard to fit the flange right up against the wall. We have a few of our brackets up, made out of our floor flange, a 6-inch nipple and a cap. It's 1/2-inch pipe. We're going 12 inches down from the ceiling to the top of the nipple just to make it easy. So we'll measure this down. And we're on our stud, obviously. There's one. So we didn't glue down our burlap. We wanted it to just be kind of a billowy and just kind of rustic looking. If you want, you can use a starch glue like that you would use for wallpaper and glue your burlap real flat down to the wall. But we didn't do that. So that's it. We'll show you when we get the finished product up there for this shelf. We got our shelf up. It looks pretty good. We use the floor flanges and a 6-inch nipple, and I made a couple of end brackets since the flange doesn't fit that well on the very end. And overall I think it looks pretty good. Kind of cool, kind of rustic. Goes with the rest of the place. We needed some covering for the windows when we're not in here using it. So we decided to get some coffee bags. They're pretty inexpensive, about $2 each. You can order them online. I'm just going to hang these on a hook, and I put a couple grommets in the corners so it fits perfectly on my windows. I also wanted to make some shorter shelves on the side walls, and I did that in kind of a rustic fashion also with a brace made out of a stick. So that worked out pretty well too. Now I made a thing for my old antique golf club collection, a piece of wood that worked out pretty well too. So I hope you have fun decorating your shed, and thanks for watching the video.